That's just so satisfying. Welcome to another builder, team freaking awesome builder vlog video. Working here on my 3-pound robot offbeat for getting it ready for, well, this is an interesting conversation I guess. I'm building it for Vegas, but I'm taking it to Norwalk. That's an interesting point that Martin Mason of Mad Catter made yesterday. If I sound a little miserable or I kind of look like crap, that's just normal. But I actually yesterday went to, and today is Sunday the 9th, so yesterday would have, is it the 9th? Today is Sunday the 8th. Yesterday was Saturday the 7th, and I went to Southern California Attack Robotics, or SCARS, Melee at the Meadery in Anaheim, California. It was a lot of fun. Now, I didn't go and compete. They didn't do 3-pound competition, and my ferry weight is still in a little box over there, all taken apart and not put together, well, not even assembled yet. And somewhere, and I don't know where, I have an ant weight that also is completely taken apart that I've never put back together, that I probably won't because I've been focusing on beetles, and one specific one, and sometimes fairies. Anyways, so I just went there mostly as a spectator and as a volunteer to help run whatever needed to be done. But I also went with Jeff from Team Jackpot, and we took my car. And in fact, as I'm recording this, I still have Jackpot in the trunk of my car, or the back of my car. I have a small SUV. So yeah, I'm like miserably tired still from that. I'm probably gonna take a nap after this. Anywho, so I put back together, well, at least made a rolling version of it. There's no electronics in here. I put together the Street Fights version of Offbeat, and you can see here's one of my painted weapons. This is the new weapon. This is the old weapon that was on here, so I put the new one on because I wanted to see how well it spins, or I wanted to show how well it spins. Friday night at Millennium Fandom, a bunch of the Vegas builders, including Jackpot builders and Triton builders. We even had Jackpot and Triton there, and Price from Team Horizon. We went to our favorite bar called Millennium Fandom, and we had a Battlebots viewing party. That was cool. And I put this version of Offbeat together just to kind of be able to roll it around on the table and show how, it would have functioned if all the electronics were working. Meanwhile, I was also putting together this version of Offbeat. And if you watched the last video, I'm going to take this one now and set it there out of the way. If you watched the last one, I was working on this frame. And you can tell it's this frame because these are the screws I put in. I need to cut these down because they're too tall and they hit before the wheels do. But what's nice about this frame is it's super flexible. What's bad about this frame is it's super flexible. The flexibility and squishiness of this frame, mean that hopefully if it takes a hit, it flexes and bends away from any hit, especially here where there's not a lot of support and material along the back, since we have an armored plate across the front. One of the problems I ran into after I put everything together, got it all ready to test. I hadn't cut these screws down, but I wanted to just make sure that do a full functionality test. These are the motors that we use for the weapon now. It sits right here in this little hole, and it's held in at the bottom, and then the outside can of this brushless motor can spin. Brushless motors, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have this, the outside of the motor spins and the inside stays put. So I put it all in there, put the pulley on, put the weapon system on, put the belt on, and there's a little bit of compression. The belt is stretched a little tight. It's pulling the motor shaft to one side, which was a problem we had with the Street Fights frame, mostly because the shaft was not long enough. I didn't have the ground clearance for it. The weapon was too close to the bottom of the robot, and the shaft wants to twist in this direction. I'm over exaggerating, but it wants to twist in this direction. So at one point the blade is sitting like this, and at one point the blade is sitting like this, and so it rubs on one side. In fact, if you look on the bottom of it, you can tell that the weapon was hitting on this side of the frame more so than over here, just because of how much worn it is, because, again, the weapon was sitting like this, and then this, because the shaft is torqued towards the motor. Anyways, not really big problem. With the weapon shaft, it's not that overall big of a problem. We can fix that by putting a washer between the bottom of the robot and the weapon, and just building up enough washers that we compensate for that angle. Fixes that easy. Problem is I can't support the motor. We have no way of supporting, just the design of the robot, we have no way of supporting the motor at the top. So when I put that belt on, the motor, I'm over exaggerating this, sits like this inside this frame. Because again, this material right here on the bottom is just flexible enough. We put it on there, and it goes, we put the belt on, and it goes, boop. Without the belt, the weapon motor spins up just fine. But we need the belt to drive the weapon. So if I don't have that on there, I'm just making noise. So I put it on there, it goes like this, and now the can of the motor is sitting right up against the frame. And won't turn. It'll barely turn. It doesn't get up to speed. It has enough torque to kick over and just go but not enough to get up to speed. Things we tried before you sit there and type in the comments. Well, do this, do this, do this. I put grease in there. I slathered this whole can, and it's actually in this frame, so we'll talk about that frame in a minute. What's making noise behind me? Oh, it's just the house creaking because the sun's coming up. I put grease on here, hopefully reduce that friction. Didn't help. We'll just drill out this side here and make more room. The problem is there's enough flex in this and enough lateral pull that the more room I give, the more it's going to want to turn. And at a certain angle, it no longer is in alignment, and we destroy the belt. So, easiest solution was, and I forget what this material is. I know Robert told me what it is. It's really nice flexible stuff, but this frame's not completely utterly useless. It just won't work for offbeat as a frame for combat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run some tests. I'm going to hit it with our weapon and just see, you know, how durable this material is, because we have a frame, we have a robot. I can hit this frame with a robot and get data for using this frame for other parts. Maybe I want to use this material along the backside as an add-on bit of armor or something like that, or maybe a completely different robot that uses this material. If we know just how much of a hit this can take and survive, we know if this is a good material. So let me actually just, oh, that made a weird noise. It landed flat and echoed. I was gonna throw it and then remembered, oh, it's got screws. I don't want to chip my floor, so I'll just drop it straight down. So here is the new offbeat frame. We went back to the same material, the same nylon that we used for the Street Fights frame that really worked well. I have the front wedge put on. Now these bolts here, these bolts here, they do have a nut on the back of them to help hold them in. That was a problem, not really for the Street Fights. I did see them start to pull out a little bit, but I did put a nut and bolt on there, and what I'll probably do is take those nuts off and drop a Loctite on them to just really hold them in. But they are in there pretty tight. You can actually see it's kind of hard to tell, but the material is a little compressed right there. Just a hair. I have all of our electronics mostly in. You will see I have a broken wire here. These are brand new motors, and this wire broke while I was plugging it in to the motor controller. So I got to resolder that. And it's a good thing it broke now and not in the middle of a fight. What I normally do is we have these little brass electrical connectors that come already attached to the motor like so. Well, it just broke right there. So I just got to strip that, resolder that. And then what I do is after I put them in, I do wrap them in a little bit of tape just to kind of give it a little extra hold. Things I still have to do to this frame. Obviously, it's missing the wheels. One of the big problems we have is I'm out of the bearings. I'm almost out of the bearings that we put on the wheels. You can't really see it, but there's actually, here's the wheel, and then this axle, and then this bolt that goes through. Well, this bolt goes through this axle, and then there's bearings on this axle between there, and that's how these wheels can spin so nicely. Instead of something like this, where it's just, the bolt, axle, and then a wheel just sitting on there. This was just a test thing I printed a while ago. Barely moves. We actually put a bearing on either side of the wheel, and that's what these big holes here are for. And I'm almost out of those bearings. I might have a couple more floating around in my toolbox if I can dig through it deep enough and find them. So yeah, I still have that to do. I have the aluminum, a new aluminum top plate on order. I have 3 of them on order. I should get them sometime. This video is coming out on Monday, so sometime, I think a Thursday or Friday, maybe Monday of next week. What else? So yeah, I got to get that assembled still, and then we can start doing. What I can do is I can take the wheels off the rolling frame that I have now and start doing some preliminary drive tests and weapon tests and just make sure all the systems are functioning. And then I'll actually record some video of that. And so in the next video, you should actually see some drive video and some other stuff. It won't be anything too fancy. It'll probably just be my GoPro as I'm using now. I would use my camera on my phone, but the camera on my phone doesn't work very well. Something, don't put it on a motorcycle. And then I got to button up all the wires and that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one just came off the printer. Watch this, look at this, look at this. Hear that? Just came off the printer. 5 wheels. I'm going to print 1 more of these wheels. These are TPU. These are our wood wheels. You can see here's our teeth to mesh with our pinion gear on our motor. Spokes here just to make it so it's not a solid piece, but give it a lot of strength. I actually threw one of these across the bar on Friday. And then the holes here for the titanium inserts. And then this is a TPU spacer. So that will go on here. In fact, I already have one assembled here. The wheel, TPU spacer, and then these white PLA pieces will actually be replaced with titanium. There's some titanium ones coming in. And then after I ordered titanium, everyone's like, you should have gone with spring steel. I'm like, God damn it, I should have gone with spring steel. Oh well, live and learn. So I will have 6 of these wheels, and you're probably sitting there saying, but Kaz, you should have more than 6. What happens if you lose them? Well, I'm going to have more than 6. So as I said in a previous video, I am being, well, I say my team, which consists of Robert, myself, and Price from Horizon. We are sponsored by Malice. Team Malice has 3D printing services. So if you wanted to get into combat robotics, and you have a CAD design, but you don't have a 3D printer, or you don't have the know-how to print with TPU or nylon or any of that stuff, or you don't have access to it, or you just don't have a printer, Malice on her store, link in the description, has 3D printing services. You can send them your file, and they will print it for you. And so Malice is printing us, I think, 8 or maybe even 10 of these wheels in a much stronger than TPU material. I don't have any of those yet to show or test with, but at least I have enough that I can put them on the robot and start testing. So that's going to be really cool. I thank you, Malice, for doing that for us. Got us a pretty good deal on that. I think Malice is like me. She just wants to, or Bunny over at Malice is like me. She just wants to see the community grow and will help in any way possible. And I don't have the money and space to have a machine shop and be able to do that kind of stuff. So it's cool that there are people like that who are helping out. I still have to print more of, I actually have one. I still have to print more of our spacers. I'm going to be printing a ton of these spacers. I actually have a really interesting file sliced up where it's spacer, and then these are our axles. Spacer, axle, like that. And it prints, you know, 2 of them at a time. The problem is I'm out of this red TPU, and I got to go to the hobby shop and get some more TPU, specifically red. And then I do want to repaint this bar red to match the red accents on our wheels and the red axles, because I think this looks cool, right? But also I think the contrast of the black, these will also be black, they're the titanium, and then that little red there, I think that's going to look really cool. You can kind of see without those bearings, there's blah, 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 blah. Also, if this were printed in red, you'd be able to see it better when I'm going like this. So yeah. And oh, here's one. It's in red. So yeah, I think that looks pretty cool on the outside of the robot. Maybe not this white, but what's coming up? What's coming up? What's coming up? Just getting ready for Norwalk. That's all. I'm gonna go throw this on my computer, let it render, let it upload, and I'm gonna take a nap. I will start doing more than just sitting here talking to the camera and holding robots and pointing at them videos. Going to Norwalk, something in my kitchen just fell over. My house is haunted. Oh no. Going to Norwalk, I will do like a long video, figure something out. God, I hate editing videos so much. Figure something out and make a bunch of cool video, but probably not a whole lot of fights, just because once I get there and get into the pit area, I'm going to be more focused on getting my robot running and everything. Robert and Price both think that Offbeat could do a very deep run at Norwalk. Me, the ever pessimist, is like, no, we're gonna get knocked out in 2 fights. Like, I'm trying not to set my expectations for myself too high. So yeah, I just got to print at least 1 more of these wheels, so that way I have a nice 6-pack of my own wheels, some more shafts, some more spacers. I have the top plate. I have a couple of them coming in. I have 2 more of our weapon spinners, so in theory we can get 8 fights out of them, because what can happen is I could fight, and then since it's spinning in this direction, I can just take the whole weapon spinner and turn it around, and now I have a brand new weapon with the worn out side not getting used. So I can, every 2 fights, flip the weapon around and get another 2 fights out of it before it's probably too banged up to use anymore. And yeah, that's gonna wrap that one up for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. I guess I don't know. I'm like, remember I said I went to the meadery thing? Okay, this is how tired I am. Friday night I got home and I went to bed at around 11:45, midnight. Woke up at 3 a.m. Went over to Jeff's house, picked up Jeff and all his stuff, drove 4.5 hours to California, helped run an event. I helped set up the arenas. I helped judge. I coached a couple of people, talked to a lot of people, answered a lot of questions. A lot of people thought I was on Team Jackpot because I kept answering questions. Like, people were like, "What's this robot?" And I'm like, "It's Jackpot. It's blah 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 blah." And they're like, "So how well did Jackpot do this year?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not on the team." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm just friends with people who are on the team." Then we all went out to dinner. And then we drove 4.5 hours back here to Vegas. I didn't get home until like 1 a.m. Took a quick shower and passed out around 2. It's almost 22, 23 hours on 3.5 hours of not even good sleep. And I come home, pass out around 2, and then I wake up at about 8:45. Because I always wake up at 8 o'clock every day. Internal clock just goes, "Sun's up, better be awake." So yeah, I'm really tired. Thanks for watching.